Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. I have a live broadcast interview with Herbert Lawrence Taylor, and let me go ahead and see if I can invite him now. How's everyone's Sunday going? I just gotta type in his name. I don't know about you guys, but it is warm in Imperial Beach, San Diego, California. It's probably in the high 80s, low 90s right now. How's it going, Lars? So what area are you located at, Lars? I'm down here in Imperial Beach, San Diego, California. The weather is very warm this morning. You doing good? Great. How's your weather out in your neck of the woods? Hey, Thomas, how's Florida? It's got to be hotter than it is here in San Diego. I am burning up. I just jumped in the shower about a half hour ago, but I feel like I probably will jump in again after this interview coming up. And I'm still waiting for Herbert Taylor. So yeah, I'm sure it's very warm in Florida. So how hot is it? Is it in the hundreds with humidity? The humidity is what I cannot stand. In Las Vegas, it's dry, so that's more tolerable than Florida. Oh, so you're still working on your storage area. Wow. So when do you expect to be done with that, your storage facility? In a couple hours, the end of the day? It took me 2 days to remove all my stuff from my storage. I had a big 30-foot U-Haul to put everything in to truck up to Las Vegas. So in 1 hour, you should be done. Great, great. So I'm still waiting for Herbert. If he doesn't show up, who would like to join me in a short broadcast today? So let me see if I can reach out again to Herbert. Herbert Taylor. Okay, I'm going to send him another invite. So my day, I just got back from Escondido this morning, came home, dropped off all my things. Okay, we'll see you, Thomas. Hopefully you get everything cleared out of your storage there. Thanks for stopping by. So I got back from Escondido, had lunch. I got prepared for this interview with Herbert, and I have one photo shoot edit that I have to complete for a client, a surprise engagement photo shoot from last Sunday. And later on, in a few hours, I have a family party to attend. So I'm hoping I'll be able to finish my edits for my clients on that surprise engagement photo shoot. Okay, Herbert, let me see if I can invite you again. Okay, I sent you an invite, Herbert. Hopefully you can pick that up and join me here. So, yes, my client that I did the surprise engagement photo shoot with, we ended up doing a drone footage from aerial view behind the scenes. And I've posted a few items or a few shots in there, but there's a lot more. So I am going to give Herbert another 5 minutes. If he doesn't show up, Lars, are you available to interview with me? So, still waiting on Herbert. He's from San Diego and Rancho Penasquitos. And hopefully he'll be here shortly. So, Lars, you've done drone photo shoots? Yeah, it is. You do get great perspectives that most photographers don't get. It's very nice angles from up in the sky. And that's something that you don't see very often. So if you have drone footage, that's the way to go. People will enjoy looking at all the different angles that you can capture. So, oh, you're at work. Oh, I'm sorry. So what do you do for work? So you're a professional drone pilot? Is that your, I'm at work, it's my, yeah, and you're in your break. Wow, thank you for joining us on your break time here. I definitely want to talk to you about your drone pilot experience. You must have the FCC license if you're a professional. Yeah, I have a drone myself. I have the inexpensive one that I picked up from Costco. It cost me less than $400. I had to purchase extra batteries, the charging system, and I use my iPhone display. So you're not a professional with a drone, but you do have a drone. I'm the same way. I use my drone for recreational use only. I do not use it for professional use because the FCC can fine you thousands of dollars for not having the FCC license. Hey, there's Taylor there. Let me see if I can invite you, Taylor. Herbert. Okay, let me try one more time. I'm going to cancel it and I'm going to invite you right now, Herbert. See if you can get my invitation to join me live here on Rick Edra Photography Broadcast
Can you
Channel.
hear?
And there's Herbert.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon, or actually, it's still morning, right?
No, your afternoon.
Well, it's 2 o'clock.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you
so it's
go.
afternoon. You know what? I'm glad you have the headsets
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
one of my past guests that came on, he had his laptop on, and I guess he must have had his phone turned on, and we had feedback generated from that. And he thought it was on my end, but we still continued with the interview, even though his signal was distorted. But I did hear from some of my viewers that there was distortion on that interview.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm glad that you can, I'm sure you can hear me well with your
Oh, yeah.
headset. Maybe
Perfect.
in the
Oh, yeah.
future.
Indeed.
So do you do any kind of broadcasting with pod? What's that? What do they call that?
Podcast?
Podcast.
No,
Yeah.
not
Have you
yet.
done?
I
No.
don't think I have the face for TV. So
No.
not yet.
Oh,
But
oh, you have a face for
uh,
TV.
also like the amount of content that needs to be pushed out, I don't think I'm ready for.
Oh,
So
yeah.
until that happens, yeah,
Yeah, that's the thing. You got to continually push out that content so that your followers keep on top of it
exactly,
and they always want
exactly.
more. So we're going to start our interview right now. Well, Herbert Lawrence Taylor, thank you for joining me on a Sunday 2 p.m. interview. Where I'm down here in Imperial Beach, San Diego, California. I just came back from Escondido, and you're
Oh,
up in
that's a drive.
Rancho
Yes,
Penasquitos.
sir.
So
Yes, sir.
tell me and the viewers a little bit about yourself as a photographer.
So I actually I've been shooting for a while, mostly street and architectural. I've actually only been shooting like studio fashion with actual models for only about a year and 2 or 3 months. I started April of last year. So I didn't even understand the concepts of aperture, shutter speed, ISO, none of those things until I actually just dove right in and started shooting with models and getting in the studios and all
Really?
that.
That's
Yeah,
pretty good.
yeah,
How long
yeah.
ago from today did that all happen when you
April,
first started learning? 2 years
April of
ago?
last year. April of
You
last year.
actually you're doing really good
Thank you.
for learning that fast.
Thank you.
Do you
Indeed, yeah.
get how do you get your content for learning?
Um, I started with Skillshare actually. So the concepts of like composition, because again, I started actually shooting with a camera with my Sony Nex 5 like decades ago. Yes, I'm a Sony guy. That's mainly what I shoot, but um, I would always go out there and just shoot. I wouldn't necessarily call it street photography because I only focused on like I was architecture student when I also started shooting. So that's how I naturally just started getting into architectural photography. So composition, lighting, I knew all those things beforehand um,
That
for years
helps.
ever since. So for me, yeah, I didn't even understand how aperture affected your shot. Um, Shutter speed until I actually started getting into understanding shooting models, like shooting people, not just buildings. Everything, I don't know why I'm admitting this, but everything I shot, every photo, terabytes of info, up until April of last year was all auto, full auto.
Oh,
So
that's fine.
I'm not proud of it, but they're beautiful shots. But once
You
I
have to
started
start somewhere.
understanding the fundamentals, um, it just opened up a whole new world. So yeah,
Yes.
but yeah, to answer your
You can,
question, Skillshare, a lot of YouTube University. I'm a proud
yes.
member of that. And what was it? I actually did a Sony does this B Alpha kind of event where they're really just selling their stuff. But I went to LA last year and saw this photographer by the name of Scott Robert Lim. Um, Great photographer, great teacher as well.
Okay.
It took 2 days of like watching some of like how he shot and him give a lecture, and I was sold. And I like a lot of his videos, whether it be YouTube or his actual program, also taught me so much. So yeah,
That,
and then just going out and shooting because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you study. Um, for me, it was that's why I just dove in, just going out shooting, looking at the actual raws, knowing how badly I shot or how well I shot it, understanding the settings, and then knowing what was right and what was wrong. So yeah,
and how to improve from those previous shots.
exactly.
So that's good. Yeah, the best way to learn is actually doing the shooting continuously as much as you can, because practice does make perfect. And for me, even though I've been shooting for a while now, and I do have steady photo shoots with certain clients on a monthly basis, I am still learning. I
Indeed,
admit everybody, even the professionals, still have to learn because
indeed,
there's new things coming out every month, every year.
indeed.
And
And I will admit, that's how I actually came along to your page, your website, your page, watching like you do a lot of reels where you're actually shooting and doing behind the scene.
well,
So
thank
thank
you.
you, whether or not you know it or not. Like watching you work, watching a lot, as particularly you, but a lot of professionals work and seeing how they're doing it and how they're explaining it really helped me. So, and I'm sure a
Yes.
lot of other people. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. And you know what? I have a lot of other viewers that have requested me to pump out more of the behind the scenes, which I feel is an important part for people learning about photography and also, the experienced photographers, because everybody's style is different.
Indeed.
My style is not the same as you or any of the other photographers that we follow. What the best advice I can give you is pick the best things that you can see that you like from these photographers and work on that to make it your skill, what
Yeah.
you do best. But
Yeah.
not everything that somebody else does, just a little bit here, a little bit there, and then just put it all together as one package that represents you.
Indeed.
And the key for that is it'll make you unique, different, and you'll stand out. Because when you stand out, that's where you'll pick up the followers.
Indeed.
Because there's a lot of photographers here in San Diego. San Diego, I believe, is probably one of the highest as far as photographers in one certain area. I think Los Angeles is another area where there's a concentrated amount of photographers all over. And in order to stand out, you need to produce reels, behind the scenes, photos that are totally different. That somebody doesn't say, you know what, that looks similar to somebody else's. You want it to shine so that when they look at it, they'll say, hey, I want to check this out. And that's the key. And actually, with Instagram, they were saying that the first 3 seconds is critical in hooking your engagers. So if you can come up with some kind of reel or some kind of photo that engages them within the first 3 seconds, they'll continue looking at your reels. They'll continue looking at your bio, your profile, and they'll probably even follow you. So I can't stress that enough to being unique. Unique
Yes, sir.
to where you're out. Here's the regular photographers right here, but you need to be way out here, stand out and shine.
Yes, sir.
So if you can do this, this is where all of us want to be right here. Not
Yes, sir.
not with the whole crowd here. So have you gone out to any of the meetups here in San Diego?
Yes, quite a few. So SD Walkabouts is the main one. I love it. That's actually like the first meetup that I actually attended of whether it was out here in San Diego or Southern California. And I have to admit, like the people I met, and just like the experience and the ability to just walk around and meet people and actually focus on just taking pictures and getting composition and camera settings right, and just the general advice that you get from the people you meet there. Um, I
Okay.
wouldn't I wouldn't be where I'm at as far as like my camera work, um, without meeting, like get into that, like doing those meets.
Okay.
Um, so that's the biggest one. It's funny you mentioned standing out and being different. There's a photographer. The actual first meet I attended as a like where I shot a model. The gentleman
Okay.
is named Roy. His Instagram is Deep Visions, and then he has another one, Stampede of Light. Very great photographer, great guy, and like the advice, the genuine advice he gave, like when you were mentioning the standing out and
Right.
kind of knowing, yeah, you're getting information from photographers and other people, but how you differentiate yourself from others, one by being yourself and shooting what you know, like and what um, kind of people can see that's different than everybody else's. Just doing those meets, um, and having people that I can talk to that are real photographers. Um, it it it's it's helped me immensely. So yeah, I don't do so many meets other than SD walkabouts now,
Okay.
but yeah, last year I was heavy. If there was a meet and I had the time, I would do it, because I was just throwing myself out there. But now I'm kind of more selective. But yeah,
So how often do you go on these meetups?
so,
Once a
so
month? Once every
they actually
week?
do it once a week. So like every Sunday, unless there's a break, they would actually go out and meet at a great coffee shop. They haven't missed yet. They always meet at like a coffee shop, uh,
Really?
and they'll converse for an hour, and then at 10 o'clock every Sunday.
10 in the morning?
Um, yeah, and then so yeah, they converse with each other for, about an hour. And I always show up super late. I'm not like a people person. So I would always show up at like 10:59 or something like that because I just wanted to go shoot, but sometimes I'll show up a little early and converse. And then yeah, we just go out and walk and shoot great pictures and some of those I'd say everybody that's there outside of me just phenomenal shots. A lot of them are like film guys or film like women that shoot like film instead of
Oh,
different.
really? You're still
That's a whole
shooting
nother
with film.
rocket science. But
That's harder to shoot with
yeah,
film.
yeah, yeah. I'm not even. I'm good with my Sony, and I'll shoot my digital and call it a day. Like I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. But
Yes.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
So talking about your gear, your Sony, is this the only one that you have, or do you have other camera gear that you
So
shoot with?
I shoot Sony. That's it. It's a mostly a nostalgic thing. I owned a Nikon at one point in time, but you'll never hear me admit that or say that again out loud. But I had a Sony Nex 5, and I converted to the A7 III and then the A7 IV, which is what I shoot now. Um, that's the only camera that I use. As far as like gear, obviously, I wouldn't say obviously, but I really got put on to Stella Pro lights. I have the reflex that I use for my lighting, and
Good.
then for my key or main light, and then I have a backup Godox flash. I have a few Godox video lights, but mainly with my Stella Pro with my reflex, um, that handles 99% of the lighting that I'm shooting with. And when I'm doing one light setups,
Okay.
if I do two, then I'll use my flash, or I do it kind of. I wouldn't call it a hybrid, but sometimes I'll have my Stella main light, and then I'll have the Godox for the like a hair light or a rim light or something like that when I need it. So,
Nice.
but yeah,
So I
yeah.
always carry two LED lights and one small. Let me see if I can show you. Actually, I just picked it up. It's a Yu-Gi-Oh. Um, it's a Japanese version of the Canon flash Youngnu.
Have you used that
And
product before
actually,
or
I
that brand?
pardon me.
Have you used that brand before?
Yes, I have two of them, and it's very inexpensive compared to the Canon flash,
Yeah,
and it's very similar in a lot of ways. And I think they stole a lot of the technology from Canon to drop the price as low as they sell it. Because when I purchased this flash probably about 7, 8 years ago, I was able to pick it up for, believe it or not, only $65.
oh,
And I
nice.
thought that it was going to be junk. And I said, for that price, let me test it out and try it. And when I tried it, I was surprised that the output of the flash was just as vibrant as the Canon. And the features look almost identical to the
Nice.
Canon. And
Indistinguishable.
I saved a lot of money. And
Yeah,
actually, I did buy the trigger from the same company, which was also very inexpensive. I
nice.
think I only paid like $35 for it. But I did drop my original trigger at one of my photo shoots, and I had to replace it, and it ended up costing me almost $100 from the cost of what I paid originally.
For the
But
Canon
it's still
trigger originally.
for
Yeah.
for the it's not a Canon trigger, it's a Yongno
Oh,
trigger.
okay. Got it. Got it.
So
Got it.
it's a lot less expensive, but it produces magnificent light just like the Canon. And I do own the Canon Speedlight, but I only use that as a backup in case this one fails on me. So I have three of the actually I have two of these working right now, and then I do have my Canon, which I just use as a backup.
Yeah.
I don't use that as my primary uh, light, my
You keep
strobe
it.
light.
Got it. Got
I
it.
do have the larger strobes. It's Profoto. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's huge. It's probably about this big. I would say about a foot and a half long, and it takes these really big batteries. And actually, the batteries will last me 2 to 3 hours, depending on how many photos I take, especially in the evening. If I have it on the modeling light, it takes up a little bit more of the battery power, so it'll draw quicker. But in the beginning, I always brought my softbox and that Profoto light, and it does produce beautiful photo images. But with the smaller speed lights that I've been carrying around with me, they're much easier to handle, especially when I'm moving from location to location. It's
Yeah,
so much
yeah.
faster
That's
because with
huge. That's
bigger
huge.
speed, yeah. Do you know? Because
Yeah.
with I don't know how big your speed light is. Is it a
It's so I have two of them. So the main one is the reflex, which is probably about the battery itself is the size of a soda can, and then the actual light part of it is half that size. So that's the biggest reason. And I have a question about your lighting setup, but I'll finish this up. So it's actually no bigger than my actual speed light. So the speed light is probably about the size of a soda can, and then my main light is about a little bigger than that. But the fact that they're really lightweight and they're small, like you said, like when you're moving around, and I have a cheetah stand that I use for my lighting setup as well. Um,
okay?
to be able to move around and it's very lightweight, it's a lifesaver, especially when you're just shooting them at multiple locations, even if it's one location but you're moving around. So yeah, they're definitely not big. Like all the big stuff, I stopped um, bringing because when I first started and bought all this gear that I now realize I never needed, and all the lights that because I just
Right,
saturated like bought stuff. I would bring everything, and ended up only using maybe 10% of the stuff that I brought. So like just through time, I kind of learned, okay, this is what I'm shooting with 90% of the time, so this is all I need. But
right.
yeah.
So, do you have any L bracket angles for your camera that you use? I just picked this one up from Amazon a couple of weeks ago,
So
and actually,
that's for your
this
camera.
is this is for my camera in case I need to shoot without a tripod and without my what do you call that? My speed, my trigger. If
Okay.
I if I don't want to use my trigger with the off-camera flash, I'll use this and put my flash on here. This
Okay.
way, the light will be at a different angle shooting my subjects, and I can just carry this around, and it holds my camera right here.
I guess I'm
So
getting one of those.
this is
I've never
great if
seen that.
you're actually I seen this probably 10, 20 years ago with a lot of the older photographers, and I was wondering
Wow.
why they use this. It's because it offsets the position of your flash. It's
Okay.
not
Right.
directly
Right. Yeah, it's
above the
not on
camera.
camera.
You get
Yeah.
that flat looking flash look. But if it's on the angle side, it looks a lot
Yeah.
better. And so I use this if I don't want to carry my tripod with my trigger and my off-camera flash. And this will do the job. And also I can put my microphone on here. I can put other items on this unit and it's all in one. I just hold it. My camera's here, flash here's my speaker or my uh, headsets on that. And
You should link that in
it only
the
cost me $9
wow.
on
Amazon.
Amazon. So it's called the L-shaped camera bracket.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah,
And you can't differentiate the lighting or the quality of it from using that speed light at an angle versus using that.
you're going to get a better lighting with the angle on a tripod.
Right.
I I can't say that it's going to be as good as that, but for being compact and quick, this is a good way to do it.
Nice.
Where there's a lot of people, because if you're in a big crowd, your equipment can be stolen, ripped off. And actually, I had a few conversations with other photographers on that topic. But if you're afraid that something might be ripped off and you want to take some shots that aren't quite as good as that, but it's good. At least you have some light. You can see your subjects. This is the way to go.
Sure.
Because actually, like I said, back in the olden days, those original photographers that used to use film, they had this kind of setup where the angle was shooting out probably a little bit more towards the
Yeah.
left or to the right.
So you had that
Which
better,
you
further
got,
angle.
yeah, you get that further angle, that gap from the
So,
camera.
okay.
So that's
Interesting.
something that you might want to look into, and I'll let you know how this works out for me as I use it more often. But
Got it.
I've been using my tripod and my off-camera flash for most of my photo shoots. I have a photo shoot coming up the end of this month where I will probably possibly use this because I'm going to be using two different cameras. And then also, I don't know if you've seen my previous post. We have David, who's a drone pilot, and he's going to be coming out to this photo shoot and taking some behind the scenes at aerial view. So I'm
Cool.
very excited
Nice.
for that.
Yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah.
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 And
Great work.
actually, I haven't posted much. I think I only posted two things from our photo shoot last Sunday, a week from today. We did a photo shoot for a surprise engagement out in Coronado Cays, and he did a phenomenal job. He captured probably about 40 minutes of aerial footage.
Nice.
So I have a lot of content that I'll be pushing out. I just recently received my client's 15 photos that I have to edit. So I'm going to use the photos that I'm going to be editing today to add on to those aerial footage. So
Nice.
stay tuned on that.
Yes, sir. We'll do.
So yeah, and actually he had another friend that he brought along with him. His name is Ryan, and he's a photographer starting out. He's like you, and actually some of his behind the scenes shots of me, I was very impressed with how he captured that Biok look from the background where it's blurred out.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did a phenomenal job, Ryan. And I think he just started a few years ago. And
Solid. So
uh,
he's progressing well, and
he's been, he
now
progressed pretty good.
good.
And
Good.
according to David, they both worked together, and he said that Ryan's very sharp. So uh, I'm excited to see some of his other photos that he'll be taking for behind the scenes. He said that he wanted to take more photos of most of my gear and different angles. So we'll see what happens in our next photo shoot
Nice.
scheduled up. So
Sunday, right? In a week from now.
no, that one is later on in the month. I don't want to give away the date. I like to keep things secretive. The way I am, like yesterday, I was up there in Valley View Casino doing an interview with Bailey.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the interview, I said, I am here at a, a location that I will disclose shortly after the end of this interview because I don't like to be at that location where somebody can probably find me later on.
Oh, that's
I have some kind of a
well,
phobia. I have a
I like.
phobia.
I knew you were at a casino because I was watching, and I was like, I bet he's at a casino somewhere because he's outside. It's a great scene. So yeah, if somebody's willing to work that fast to find you, I guess. But I
You
think
know
you'll
what?
be
The thing is,
fine.
my interviews sometimes they go as long as an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 30 minutes. And if they know right off where I'm at, you
Well,
can
yeah, yeah.
probably get
They
there.
they have time to get
They
there
have
for you.
time to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do have a phobia on that.
Wow. Hey, I'm sure you're a guy that doesn't have very many enemies, so you should be fine. Just don't worry. I
Okay.
know it's a
I,
phobia, but you'll
yeah.
be fine.
Hopefully we keep it that way.
And,
Okay. So I have another question for you.
yes, sir.
So how did your photo shoot go last week? Because you mentioned that one of your speed lights had issues.
It was the reflex. So I thought I charged it all the way, and halfway through the shoot, the model was like, "Should that be flashing, or should that be on?" So I'm sitting there
Oh,
taking pictures and great pictures. And it was working initially because I like to set it up and then do a few test shots, right?
yes.
But halfway through that set, she's like, "Is that should that be flashing or that should I don't remember." She said that should be flashing or if that should be on, and that made me realize, okay, it's not working. So I had my backup, my Godox speed light, and that was. I'm going back to the question you mentioned the LED lights. So I actually shoot constant light a lot of the time. So that's the cool thing about the reflexes. It's a constant LED light. I see what I'm shooting,
That, that's
and
good.
then I'll
That's
use
very good.
the actual speed light for backup. So when that battery died, I put on the little speed light and I did my flash settings and I shut off camera. And I was using my 70 to 200 lens. Actually, I haven't posted. I'm finishing up those edits, but I haven't posted anything. That's another thing,
Okay.
like you mentioned about keeping things. See, I don't like doing. Are you getting feedback issues right now?
No,
Okay,
actually,
good.
I
Just
don't
making
have
sure.
anything on other than my cell phone right here. So you might want to check on your side. Actually, don't have another phone on because a phone will create feedback.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Just making sure.
no,
So
I
everything
don't.
you hear
I
everything clear?
don't. Yeah, everything's clear on
Okay.
this side. I don't hear any feedback from you, and I don't hear any feedback from
I'll
me.
keep going then. So
Okay,
what was I talking about? Yeah, the speed light
speed light.
saved my life. Um, everything else came out great. I don't like really posting like it's weird because like when I know I'm gonna post something or submit something, I
Yeah,
don't like um doing the BTS until I post it.
I can
You know
understand
what I mean?
that.
Because it
Yeah,
gives away what I'm trying to surprise people with or show people. So,
right.
but yeah, Speedlight saved my life, and then I'm finishing up those edits, so it went really well.
Oh,
The
good.
beaches are very overcast a lot,
Yes.
especially out in San Diego,
Yeah.
depending on the time. But it actually worked out. The sun was in and out, the breaking from the clouds, so it actually worked out pretty well. So I'm satisfied.
Okay.
Shots are great.
So that's good that you carry backup. A lot of photographers don't carry the backup, and when they run into situations like you have, they end up using natural lighting. So if their cameras don't have an aperture of 1.4, 1.2, they can't really get a good light where they can focus, and your camera will start hunting. It'll go back and forth, and
Yeah,
it won't get a clear, sharp focus. So
indeed.
it's very important to have your subject lit. And and you said that you use that one key light to light up your subjects. That's
Indeed.
good.
Yeah, because the sun, I usually set it up in direct opposition to where the sun is at. So I have a sun tracker that I use,
So
and then I'll set up that light opposite of that because I was shooting at 5.6 aperture. I like
5.6,
shooting
okay.
at that. And shutter speed was 1250, I believe. So
Okay. You
to
like to
kind of
shoot in high speed sync. That's good.
yeah.
Oh,
Which
you
which
get
if I'm shooting constant light doesn't matter, but when I switch to the actual speed light, then it made all the difference.
yes.
Because I love getting the detail, especially in the background, especially because I'm shooting out to the ocean.
Okay.
So getting that, and then the model, I'll shoot with my 70 to 200, so it's at a certain distance. So I had to get that perfect distance to get that focus just right to where she's all in focus. Everything's in detail that I want in the shot. So yeah,
Good. So you talk a lot about your 7200. Is that your favorite lens?
it, it is when because like in that case. It depends on what I'm shooting. So that lens I probably use that 60% of the time. And then for everything else, I either use my 24 millimeter or my 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what apertures are those?
My 24 is 1.4. It's the G Master, and then the 35 is a 1.4 as well.
Oh, those are nice.
Yeah. But the 70 to 200 obviously is a 2.8, but
Yes.
given my lighting, it didn't matter. But yeah, so I don't really shoot wide open a lot, but you're right, like especially when it gets dark
Yes, you want to
or
shoot open when it's darker.
exactly. I don't like I try and keep my ISO below 400, but
Yeah.
sometimes you can't control that, right?
Yes.
But especially if I have lighting, I might just set it at 100 and leave it at that. Not out of laziness, but because I know, okay, I'm providing the lighting. I can control a lot of my settings,
Right.
so I don't need to have my ISO high. So, yeah,
That's true. Um, I like shooting high speed sync also. The reason for that is you get a sharper image and the photos turn out so much sweeter
yeah,
looking
yeah,
for me. And it sounds like you do the same thing because you're up there in the thousands.
yeah.
I when I'm doing a lot of these surprise engagement photo shoots, I will bump it up as high as anywhere between 2,400 to 5,000 when they're
Depending
out there
on your
because
lighting
the
situation,
light
right?
is so bright, and with that speed, I can capture sharper image because the gondola's moving, and even though they're coming in closer to me, they're still moving. And when I drop down the shutter speed, because where I'm at, behind me, there's homes that are blocking the sun, and it's darker at the end of the canal where they're closer to me. And so that's why I also carry LEDs next to the canal, and I have my speed light next to the canal. And also with the speed light, it creates a better looking photo than shots without a speed light with using natural lighting for me. I don't know how it is for you or other photographers,
No, yes,
but
that's yes.
with the speed
Sometimes,
light,
like outside of golden hour, I would say, or like there's some amazing like natural light shots that you can get when the sun is like at midday, like right above or whatever. But for me, at least for a lot of what I've seen, having that light over natural light makes all the difference. I think it does produce a better quality photo. Plus, if it's it's kind of underexposed, so to speak,
it's
so
underexposed
you
for a
can
reason. Yeah,
control more of what that picture is going to look like. So
correct.
that's another reason. Yeah,
Yes, because you do most of your post editing through Lightroom, which
yeah,
will, once you make those little adjustments and you see how beautiful it looks, and that's what's very
yeah,
pleasing.
yeah. The only time I prefer the natural light um, is at golden hour, whether it's in the morning or in the evening. Other
Okay.
than that, because that glow, there's just something about it that and, some shots you'll use the speed light as well, depending on the angle and what you're trying to get.
Yes.
But again, some of my best shots, in fact, my best shots I will say are with that golden hour natural light. But other than that, speed light or some type of controlled light where you can, you know, set your own standard, so to speak.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. And also, I don't know if you noticed using your speed light, the higher sync that you have at higher shutter speeds, your background will be darker if it's bright.
Yeah.
Have you noticed?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and that will help with the bright background, especially if you're wide open on your aperture.
Yeah. Which I don't do a lot.
I do that a lot.
You do a
I'll shoot
lot.
in the middle of the day if I have a model wide open. And with that high speed sync, like you said, it brings your shot a little bit
Yeah.
darker, but that's okay with me. I was with Ruth, one of the other photographers I work with, and she was looking at my camera saying, "Rick, how come your camera's so dark here?" I said, that's just the way it is when you're shooting high speed sync.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I can control all that post through Lightroom.
Yes. Indeed.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, I use the high speed sync, but yeah, I there's just that's the one I'll admit this openly. Shooting wide open or shooting at the at 1.4 or even 1.8, I still have focus issues. Um, and that's and it's weird because that's another reason why I'll shoot at a higher aperture and then adjust the other settings to kind of
So,
get more.
huh, that's strange. How far away is your subject when
It
you're
depends.
having
But
these
I'd have to
issues?
provide like photos for you to see. But
Okay,
sometimes, because I have this calculator that I use, well, I'll input my camera focal length and the
okay.
aperture, and it'll tell me what the hyperfocal range is from the subject, and yada yada. And I'll try and go off of that. So it just depends.
So,
But
how are you? Did you set up your um, what do you call it? The sharpness, the focus. Is it back camera focus or is it on the front?
so I use auto, and the settings I'll use not auto all the time. When I go into manual, I'm actually using what's on the lens.
Okay.
But when I'm in autofocus, I'll go tracking, right? So when I go and hit that, damn it, pardon my French, I'm losing track of the name of the button, but it's like an additional setting on your camera where you can actually track what you're focusing on, and it'll set your focus and then track it so that
Oh,
it
really?
locks. Does
Oh,
that
so
make
you're
sense?
using autofocus
Yeah,
or
when
auto
I'm doing that.
tracking and
Yeah.
autofocus?
Yeah. But when I'm using manual, I already know my distance. I'm not changing it. And then I'll use manual, right, to get that focus in and then take the shot. So it just depends. But
Okay.
no matter what, for some reason, and I know it's user error, it's me. I can there's a shot that I actually posted where I'm shooting wide open and I must not have had the distance right because from one side of the face to the other, it went from extreme focus to out of focus. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
I've had that before too. It's the angle that your subject's looking at you. They must have had the eye that you had focused was right here, and then their other eye was to the back,
yeah,
and that created that Bielk look.
exactly,
So what you need to do would be to crank it up a little bit higher, your aperture.
exactly.
If
So
you
that's
had it
why,
at
yeah, yeah,
1.4, you probably want to bring your aperture up to 2.8 or
yeah,
even 4.2
yeah.
when that happens, because I've had that happen to me in the past. And that's why it's so important to keep practicing because you notice all these little details.
Indeed, indeed.
And
Like to
and
me,
when
I knew
you
exactly why, right?
right.
Or at least like I knew the solution as far as, or maybe I could have focused on a separate area between the
Yes.
eyes instead of
Between.
an eye, right? Between the eyes.
Right. Right.
But at that point, the shutter already went off. So yeah. But
Yeah, that's fine. We all learn from all these experiences, and that's how we all become better.
indeed,
And even though I've been shooting for a long time, and I do have all these clients that I shoot on a regular basis, I'm still learning. We all are learning. Even the pros that are the best, they're still learning because nowadays AI is coming out, and they're coming out with a lot of technology that none of us have seen. And with photo editing, they're making it a lot easier where instead of you can just edit one photo, they'll learn from that photo that you edited, and then they can transform the rest of your 600 to 1,000 photos and make it look just as good as the first one that you've edited.
which is
And,
amazing.
and that
I
that's
think
amazing.
Lightroom does a really good job because I use Lightroom and Photoshop. Those are
Yes,
my
I do
main
too.
editing tools, and there's so much that, like, for me, that's the biggest progression I think I've made over the past years with my editing.
Good.
Being able to being able to actually go into Lightroom and fix 60 to 70% of the photos, like and sync all of them together. And by the time I'm going into Photoshop, I'm only having to adjust for blemishes or lightening an area or darkening and kind of really making the image pop. But other than
Wow.
that, I can get away with adjusting a lot of the image, or at least editing a lot of it, all of them together through Lightroom. So you're right. It's definitely, it saves you a lot of time, and it's leaps and bounds ahead of like going through each photo.
Yes.
But also that it syncs everything so that every photo, white balance, color, all that stuff is all together.
Correct.
It's all like there's a continuity between the images.
Okay. That
It's great.
works when you're in the same area with the same light, but when you're moving to different lighting from bright to dark, the aperture and the exposure is going to be a little bit different.
Indeed.
And that's where, for me, that's where it takes more time adjusting because I might see something at a different angle that looks better and I'll move
Yeah.
and I'll capture probably 5 to 10 shots that way. And then if I'm in the same area and I capture anywhere from 20 to 100 shots, that makes my job easier when I'm editing
Yeah.
because it's all in the same light.
Yeah.
And I can adjust that first one and just edit everything else that's the same. And it'll do it within seconds, like you said, through Lightroom.
Now, are you using a color card when you're
No,
moving around?
I'm not using color card. I use
So,
daylight when I go out during the day.
yeah,
And then in the evening, I use, it depends on the lighting. Normally, if I keep it on daylight, I can do most of my color correcting on post
yeah,
and see what looks best. Because sometimes just stepping through all the different sequences, you know, auto might look better than daylight, or
this is true.
flash might even look better than
This
daylight.
is
So I'll
true.
step through it and see which one looks better for me. But I do have a color card and I don't use it.
Well,
I
if
have
you
one
can
that
get
would
away
fit in
with
my
it,
pocket. Was
yeah,
that?
if you can get
Okay.
away with it, yeah, because for you, like you said, you can be looking at an image, um, and depending on what setting you're going to go, could you go white balance, right? And then you go through your different settings. If
Right.
auto looks great, go with it. If as shot looks great, my issue is like if I want them all to look consistently the same, like I think the last shoot, not the last shoot, but the previous one, I have like this little color card feature on my phone where I'll turn it all the way up and it's basically a simple color card, and I'll have the model hold the card and then I'll go from there. I think the shoot I did up before last week, um, we went to 5 different locations, walking around Beverly Hills and shooting in different areas. So yeah, it's all the lighting's going to be different.
Right.
And that was over the course of 2 hours or so. So yeah, the lighting's going to be different. There's a lot of the settings that are going to be different, but I try and create as much consistency as possible so that
Okay.
when it comes time to edit, it's less for me to think about.
Yes.
And then that's when the creativeness comes in, where if I do need to change the white balance or whatever, at least I know, okay, these settings were similar, so I would only adjust something by. It's all like checks and balances, because even if the model's in the same area, and we're there for a certain amount of time, the lighting changes naturally,
That's
especially outside,
absolutely correct.
just
Yes.
because we've been there for so long. So, but yeah, it's weird,
So
but
you've shot in studio lighting before and you've shot all over in the outdoors. Which one do you prefer? Outdoor or studio lighting?
outdoor, of course. Studio, and it's that's two questions, right? Where
Yes.
do I prefer shooting, and what lighting situation do I prefer, right?
Yes. Yes. Two
And
questions.
in both instances, I would say outdoor because um, I've shot studio. It just seemed I don't like shooting. I wouldn't say I don't like shooting indoor with studio, just straight studio lighting, because natural lighting just looks better. You can control lighting better, obviously, in a studio setting,
That's the
but the
thing about
quality of
studio.
light
Yeah.
and how it wraps around your subject, to me, I prefer out. Even if I'm using lighting outdoors, right? I'm still
Uh-huh.
using lighting. I'm still controlling my lighting. I
Correct.
prefer outdoor lighting
So
and shooting.
it is harder to photo shoot outdoors than it is in a studio
This
setting. The
is
reason
also
why is you control the lighting, and depending on how the lighting is and what the content that you're photo shooting is, it's going to stay the way that you have the lights. And it's not going to change unless you add extra lighting or if you dim your lights. So it's a lot easier. And that's where I do a lot more content photo shoots in studio settings because I don't have the sun drifting at different angles of the day where when you're in the studio, it's always going to be that same light and I can always get that same shot. And when you're constantly switching out the contents, you want that same light to be always that look. Because sometimes I'll go through anywhere from 10 to 50 items that I'm shooting, and I need that same lighting because you spend more time making these adjustments on your camera, and that eats up the time for your clients, and they're not spending all this money for me to make all my camera adjustments.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why I like studio shooting.
It's
On the outdoors,
yeah,
um, it's a little bit more challenging because the light where it falls in the middle. So this is another thing. A lot of photographers prefer shooting in the evening time, but when you have clients that can't make it in the evening and they want a photo shoot outdoors, you got to make it happen
yes,
and you got to produce it.
yes.
So, like I was telling this one photographer, I said, she was saying, "Oh, why can't we should have come at 6 o'clock instead of 4 o'clock." I said, "Well, what if you have a paying customer that says that they want this photo shoot to happen in the afternoon, and that's the worst time to take photos, right? In
Yeah,
the broad daylight, 12 noon." I said, "You got to make it happen.
yeah,
Whatever you have to do to make that light better than it is with what you have, that's going to challenge you as a photographer.
yeah.
So don't let anything stop you from taking photos, day, afternoon, evening, or night. I've taken a lot of good shots out in the evening, um, but I did have my softbox with me. Um, have you ever shot out there at the downtown bridge right across from Petco Stadium and the Convention Center?
I know of it. I've never shot at that location yet.
Well, when you get a chance to go out there, it's a very nice location for photo shoots. Um, I had a model that I brought out there, and she was wearing some high-end fashion clothing that I think she was telling me it's in the like the $3,000 range, and so I had to get some great shots of her, and within 2 hours, and we started around 5 o'clock in the evening, and the light was good, and then closer to the evening time, um, I was able to use my softbox that had the modeling light, and then I had two LED lights lit up on her, which made the photo, and I was able to shoot in high speed sync in the evening,
Nice.
and it captured some stunning images. And with the different angles from the bridge, it even made it even more stunning. So if you haven't been there, I highly suggest you checking it out. The only thing is it's hard finding parking downtown. And what I ended up doing was I ended up paying for that parking at the Hilton because
Uh,
it's connected
like
to the
20 bucks
Hilton.
or something like that.
I think I paid for 2 hours. I think it was 30 or $40, but it was
Or
worth it.
oh yeah, of course. You have a client, you gotta get the job done. So yeah,
Got to get the job
small
done. She's
investment.
got
Yeah,
a high-end fashion attire that she needs photos with.
yeah. Did what you had to do.
Yes.
No, it's on my list. I I'm really particular with location.
Are
Um,
you?
Location because that controls a lot of things. Like if somebody wants to shoot or I have to go. Sometimes you can't control where you're shooting, but I try and control that as much as possible. So if
Okay.
the location doesn't match up with what I'm trying to shoot or how I'm trying to bring the actual photos together, like a lot of what I shoot, location dictates a lot of it. Like,
Yes.
um, okay, if she's wearing, or he or she's wearing this, or this is style, herring style, or whatever, then it does dictate a lot of okay in my mind because I keep a whole map of locations and stuff like that saved up. I can be driving down the street and see something
Something
really
that you
cool, like
like.
a pattern or something like a cool design. I'll note that and I'll save
Jot
it
it
in my
down.
Google Maps. Yeah, because yeah, I'm not a like I don't just okay, that's a cool location. Let me go shoot it there. If what I'm shooting or what she's fashioning or he or she's fashioning or everything has to connect for me. I think I truly believe in like continuity throughout the picture.
Okay.
Sometimes you can have contrast, but like a lot of locations I have saved, like even in my head or like otherwise, like I just keep it mentally like okay, I'll see what they're wearing or they want to shoot in this setting.
And
Okay, I have a
you'll
location.
know the location. And so when you choose the location for your clients, are they okay with it?
Yeah, because I'll give them options.
Okay.
Uh, let's shoot here, here, here. Because I'll hear the idea, I'll hear the concept, and that kind of dictates. I know I don't want to shoot in these locations or whatever. Now, if they have a location and I can't control that, then I'll start trying to control other aspects. But, a client wants what they want. So if I
Right.
can't control anything, any part of it, then, you roll with the punches. But if I can, because technically they're coming to me because they like my style, right?
Right. Right.
Then that's when I'll give them options because every option I give them is something I'm willing to say, okay, that kind of matches my style, or I think that the location or the setting complements what we're trying to do.
So, so talking about styles, what is your style? There's a lot of different genres out there in photography.
Indeed, I I like a lot of fashion. Like I think I shoot more for fashion, right?
There's a
But
lot for fashion out here in San Diego.
and I guess I gravitated towards that because fashion tends to really like allow me to do like all the things I talked about, like connecting things in the photograph
Right.
or creating contrast. Like you're telling a story w- in, in the photo,
That's
right? Like I don't just
exactly correct.
right.
You are telling a
And
story. A lot of people, a lot of photographers don't understand that in our photos, we are trying to visually create that story for the viewers.
exactly, exactly, because it's not just about shooting the photo to shoot the photo.
Right.
Uh, and like right now, I'm very into patterns. I'm very into putting the subject directly or around something that I've manipulated.
Oh, really?
Like
Can you give us an
so,
example of that? Or tell us about it? An example is, oh, so this is what, oh, what is
yeah.
that?
So this is actually paper. It's a paper sculpture. So
That's
um,
pretty cool.
I can manipulate it to other kind of shapes. I actually never. This is like top secret footage I'm giving you right now.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've never
Thank you.
actually used that. I've used the pattern on the other side, which anybody can just go to my post and see on my
Right.
page and see. But it's actually two sided, so there's two different patterns
Oh,
it gives off. So this one on the other end, I saw there was like a. This is actually for an event, not even like a client, but I saw what they wanted to shoot or what they wanted to use,
and you
like a
came up with
swimsuit
this.
or clothing.
Yes.
And this is actually what is it? I read a lot of books by like Paul Jackson and Richard Sweeney on like paper sculptures. Um, paper forms, tessellations and things like
Yeah,
that. And I don't know if it's just my how my brain works, but um, this is mainly like they do it in a sheet form, like origami. And I really started digging, like seeing those patterns and seeing these like tessellations on a grander scale, kind of scaled up. So when I saw like the patterns and like the clothing and the swimsuits from what they wanted to shoot, in my mind, I instantly thought, okay, I can build that pattern up as a backdrop or something like that. So,
that's very
um,
cool.
yeah, a lot
Actually,
of,
I've seen something similar to that, and I thought it was foam. I didn't know that yours was paper.
yeah, I do a lot. Mine are mainly paper. Sometimes, like if I wanted to stand, well, actually, for some of them, I can get it to like actually stand.
Really, on its own.
There's a certain water-based like glue mixture I will use. For the smaller ones, it's just starch and water. Um, but for the bigger ones that kind of carry a little bit of weight, you got to kind of use. For the last shoot, I just used clips because I had it, on a stand because I needed it to be flexible. I couldn't have it like just be in one um, kind of form.
Right.
So when you want flexibility, you just put it on a stand or whatever. But yeah, like if I can fold it into a certain pattern, and in that case, it matched what they were actually wearing perfectly. Or there's one of
Cool.
the models, like I saw like her hair, and I saw the pattern, and I was like, boom, I got to get those shots.
So you
So
do have some artistic traits.
yeah, I kind of lean more towards the art of it above the photography. Like I love shooting pictures and taking photos, but if anything, I love the artistic side of it even more. Like
I
if I
do
can get
too.
away with just doing this type of stuff, um, I'll just retire from the camera game, but not yet. We'll
Yeah.
see. Yeah. So my style, yeah, it kind of I have to lately, especially lately, I have to. It's hard for me to take a photo without like putting something that I created in it. You know what I mean? Like for some people, it's the composition and the location, but for me, it's a little more than that now. It's about I kind of have to see my creations in the photo.
Okay. So
Because anybody can just kind of, yeah, you could take the picture, the lighting, all that stuff. It's great, location, all that stuff. But if you don't watermark it, who's to say that it's yours? At least that's kind of my mindset right now. So
so
that's
do you watermark all your photos that you submit to your models and clients?
I don't. You know what? It's weird because I don't watermark anything.
You don't.
Um, I don't like. Uh, I know why people watermark their photos, um, but to me, there's something about a watermark on a photo that just turns it off for me.
Really?
Um,
Well, you can make it small, very
I
small
can,
that you cannot barely see it. It looks like a little hairline mark, but it does
yeah,
have your logo on it.
yeah. But by the time I'm whether it's an event or I'm getting paid to do it, by the time I send those people the photos, I've either already gotten paid for it and the job is done, or I don't know. There's just something about like I know I took that photo,
Okay.
and I haven't ran into the event yet of somebody using my
Images.
photos without like acknowledging me as the photographer.
Oh,
You
you're
know what I mean?
lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Like I
Yeah.
know, like I said, I know why people use them. I know why people, and it's nothing wrong with that because that's the nature of the business.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's strictly like people want to know who took that photograph
Right.
without having to do the research as to who took that photograph. I think that's the
Yes.
biggest reason above anything else that people watermark it is to, hey, that's my standard. Who shot it? It's an amazing photo. It's this person. But for me, um, I don't know. I just like sending it as is, and so far, it's worked out.
That's good. Myself, I do use watermarks, and there are clients that say, your watermark looks beautiful, but can you please leave it out? And I'll credit you if we post it on Instagram, Facebook, website, or any invitations, we'll credit you. And I have left it out because they were saying that it does make the photo look a little bad. So,
But you don't put
but
it
on the
like in the middle,
no,
right?
it's
You like,
not in the
I'm not
middle.
like
It's
you. It's
either
like
on
in the corner,
in the
right?
corner, bottom left or
Right.
bottom right.
There's nothing wrong with it because you could just crop that out. Like if the customer really wanted to,
They
right? They could
can.
crop it
You're
out
right.
or
They can crop it out.
yeah. But you know, like if the standard is you watermark it, then I mean you're being very facilitating to the customer by taking it out.
I
But at
was,
the same time, it's like
but
you know
they paid for it, so
exactly. Yeah, you got to think about that sometimes. Like that, and again, like if they paid for it, they
it's
just
just like
depends.
editing. I don't know about you, but I do not like editing because the amount of time that you put in on creating these photos, it takes me a lot of time.
Me too. How I like. Okay, say if you do a. This is a question.
Okay.
If you do a shoot, how long? Let's say it's 25 photos, right? Because everybody has different tiers of like they want this many edited photos or they paid for this many. So if
Okay.
you have a typical shoot, for me, maybe a week or two. But it just depends on the circumstance of the shoot. But for you, from the time you do the shoot to the customers are getting the photos, what's your standard, so to speak? Or
Okay. For my last photo shoot that I did was last Sunday, and that was for a surprise engagement photo shoot. Uh, our photo shoot started at 6 p.m. in the evening, and it ended at 7:15. So that day, I just got back from Verona Casino, and my daughter left her insulin tester bag out there. And after the photo shoot, I was planning on driving back out there to pick up her her tester bag with the insulin. And I was telling my clients, I said, normally I will get you the proofs by this evening, but with my situation with my daughter leaving her insulin bag at Verona Casino, I have to drive back there this evening, and I might not be able to give you the proofs till tomorrow morning because it's going to take me probably 45 minutes to get there and then another 10, 15 minutes to gather her bag and then another 45 minutes to get back home. By that time, it's close to 10 o'clock. And then I ended up getting back around 9:30, 9:45, and I started going through the photos. I downloaded them, and actually I started going through the photos and
going
doing a
through,
quick edit.
yeah,
A
yeah,
quick edit, not
yeah.
not detail edit, removing all the blemishes and all that,
Not
but
as
just
water.
correcting the
Yeah,
lighting.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, checking the white balance, the exposure, uh, sharpening it a little bit, and just my normal stuff that I do on all the photos. And I was able to get, as it is, saving these photos, there's big files.
Oh yeah,
And
about 60 megabytes of picture. So yeah,
so,
as
oh,
far as the
yeah,
raw, yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah.
And
That's a
I had 120 photos that I was going through, and I had to download to Pixieset. And I was able to get that to my clients that same evening around 11 p.m. But that's
nice.
not edited. That's just a standard touch up. So it's what I call it is a proof for my clients.
Yeah,
And they look over those photos on Pixieset and they choose the best 15. And like that customer, the client that I had on Sunday, I just received their confirmation for the 15 that they chose last night. And I told them, please give me a few days to go through and edit your photos because I was out in Escondido last night and I drove home today and had lunch and I was getting ready for our interview right now. And then after our interview, I was planning on starting the editing for them. And then this evening, my wife wants me to attend a family function for a birthday party. So I have to go to that. And I'm hoping to have those 15 edits ready for my clients before my wife tells me I need to go meet her at the family function in National City. But if I don't get it ready before I go to that family function, I think I might bring my laptop with me. So
I do that
that's,
sometimes. Like, I'm here. So you asked me to
yes,
be here. I'm
I'm
here. I'm
here.
here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I like to get my photos done for my clients as soon as possible, but I always give them a time frame of a few days. And a few days could be 1, 2, 3 days, but I don't let it go that far as 3 days
Right.
editing it because they're wanting their photos. They want to share it.
Exactly.
How about yourself?
Yeah.
What time frame
I
do you give?
same standard. So I'll call through the photos, when I get back from the photo shoot. And what I'll do first is from the camera, well, not from the camera, connect it to the computer, back them up, and then go through the photos. Well, I'll go through the photos and know, okay, shift through the ones, get rid of the ones that I know I'm not going to try and edit at all or give to the client, right?
So
So I'll
that's
go through the photos.
calling.
Oh,
That process
you
is
didn't take
called.
that?
That process is
Oh,
calling.
yeah, yeah, calling, yeah. So that's what I said, right?
Yes, you
Okay,
did.
yeah. But I'll go through the photos and then, yeah, Lightroom, white balance. If there's two settings, lens, profile, all that stuff, then I'll
You'll set that.
yeah, once I do all that, I'll do a little enhancement to the photo through Lightroom. Save those as JPEGs, and then submit those to the client and say these are the photos from the shoot. Choose a certain amount for editing, and then I'll have those no later than a week. So from the time they choose the photos from the J unedited photos to editing, I try and get them in within a week.
Yes. Okay.
So it all depends. And in some shoots they trust my judgment. So I send them the photos that I'm gonna be picking through for editing. But sometimes I just go with whichever ones I choose to edit. Because, you know, a customer can see or a client can see photos and they have a preference, but sometimes I'm looking at a photo and I know it's a great photo, but they might not pick it,
Oh,
for editing.
oh no. And that's
And
why I don't like editing my photos until after they pick their
uh,
15 because I'll
but I'll
spend.
I'll edit it anyway. Like if I and a lot of times they'll see it once I've edited it.
Okay.
Why? You know what I mean? So
Yes. Yeah.
sometimes, um, and again, like by the time I'm getting it through Lightroom, it doesn't take that much more time to edit. An additional 3 or 4 pictures, right?
Right.
So at least for me. So if I really like it, I'm gonna edit it,
And then
and
you can
then
use that for Instagram, your
exactly, which is actually
Facebook.
better because sometimes, especially for this fashion stuff, you're trying to submit or you're trying to post it, um, and it's better or for stories or whatever for a website. And for
Right.
me, I like because I'm building up my website now finally,
Good.
and I
Good.
I don't want to submit photos. I'm trying to show people different things, right? So like a really epic photo, yeah, it'll probably be on my website. But I like having like whether it's a story or I'm submitting for something or a post, like it's all something different. All
Good.
maybe the same shoot, same location, whatever. But it's okay. They've seen this here already. So for the website, I want something a little different. Well, when you're submitting for, like, say, a magazine or something, which I don't do a lot anymore, but you can't even use the photos that you're using for something else to then submit anyway.
You're right.
So you
They
have
don't
to
want.
have extra photos. That's where I originally learned to produce extra photos.
Okay.
That and like the client wanting, not seeing the potential of a photo that I want to edit, but maybe they didn't see. So those two things. But yeah, I always end up editing at least an extra five photos for that reason.
So are you publishing a lot of your photos, or are your models publishing the photos that you produce?
Honestly, I haven't. Did I publish anything this year? I can't recall. But I'd say it's 50-50
So
as
they
far as
help you.
what the
It's easier when they can help you submit the
because they
publication.
know they look at the submissions for work or whatever, and they kind of know what magazines they want to submit to or what
Right.
websites they want to submit to. And usually, yeah, that 9 times out of 10, that's way easier than me kind of looking at the because there's tons of magazines out there, and a lot of times it's you don't not even doing it for like notoriety or increased like viewership because I haven't seen an increase of it. So like you really got to be intentful with like what you're submitting for, and it's always better when a magazine reaches out to you
Yeah.
because in some cases that's paid work over you trying to do something for free.
Right.
Uh, but
Right.
yeah, obviously when the model does it, it's easier. Um, but yeah, I'd say a little. I'd lean more towards the model submitting over me. But it just depends.
Yes. Actually, I had a model submit a lot of photos back in 2022. Um, at the time, I think she was 55 years old. And believe it or not, I have more published photos with her than all the different models I've photo shoot with in all my time with all the other models. She was very excited with photo shoots, and I think I ended up doing photo shoots with her, if not every week, every other week. And with our photo shoots, she would have me edit 3 of the photos so that she could publish. And she had, with her publications submissions, um, my photos were published over 25 times just with her
Nice.
within less than a year's time. And there was another model that I've been trying to get published before her that I never received a single publication with her.
Now, why is that? Now are you submitting or is she submitting, and then are they giving you? Because I've submitted before and got turned down, and like at least they tell me why.
Okay,
Maybe there's
that's
something
fair.
about the edits that or the format or whatever that needed to be adjusting. But in your
Okay.
case, why weren't they accepted? Do they?
Uh, these were higher end magazine companies, and they were looking for different images, 3 different images that were totally different with different makeup applied.
Yeah,
And the photo shoot that I took, they were basically the same makeups, and they noticed those little things like that.
I see. So they're very very particular with
Very, very, very
their
particular.
requirements. I see. That's
They're,
expensive
yeah,
to have
yeah.
3 shots, 3 different makeup kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
And
yeah,
the
that's
time involved in doing all that.
yeah. And you're submitting this, and it's not like you're just submitting it, right? It's not them hiring you to do these
No,
shots.
no.
It's you submitting something that you put money into, and
Yes,
they expect three to.
right.
Whoa, yeah. I don't
I
know.
was
I mean,
using
I'm
that
sure.
for advertisement.
Yeah, yeah. No, because it's depending on the publication, it's well worth it, but
Yeah.
it just depends.
Well, there's one model that I'll be working with who's been published in a credible magazine that I've seen. I don't know if any of the other models that I've photoshopped with have been in this magazine. It's Ellie, Elle.
I've heard it.
and they're out there at the grocery stores, bookstores, and you know, all over town. Whereas most of these other publications, you can only get a hard copy if you place an order
Yeah.
through that company.
I think those are like yeah, it's I think when you're submitting to those, at least for me, it's more to kind of get into the groove of actually getting to the standard of submitting for the larger ones.
Okay.
At least from my experience, I don't know, maybe you can correct me on that, but because their standards that with Ely or however you pronounce it would be so much higher.
Yes.
So actually submitting to magazines until you and like getting kind of well versed in the process obviously is worth it depending on what you're trying to eventually get to when it comes to
Right.
submissions. But
Well, if it's a magazine that they publish at the local grocery stores or any of the bookstores, it's a credible
yeah,
magazine
yeah,
that's they publish nationwide here in the United States.
yeah.
I think
Because
most of
it's something
those
that people can actually grab at the store.
correct.
Whereas if it's just
Correct.
digital, they'll never hear of it if they don't know of,
Yes, you're
the publication.
absolutely right.
Yeah,
You're absolutely right.
yeah.
So I actually had somebody reach out to me a couple months ago asking me to submit to their publications. And I said yes. They sent me all their information, but I've been too busy. Um, I have other things on my plate that are more of a priority. And,
Yeah.
and it's nice to be published, but, my schedule's been very hectic lately. And actually, next week I'm heading up to Las Vegas for a week, so I have everything kind of shut down for a while.
My hometown.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What part of Las Vegas are you
I,
from?
I was born in North Las Vegas, actually. I was born and raised there. Um, so I actually, my family didn't have a lot of money, so we moved around a lot during my childhood. But I was born in North Las Vegas, and by the time I joined the Navy, I was living in Summerlin.
Oh, you were living in Summerlin? That's an
Yeah.
upscale
Well,
area.
I was living with my sister. Yeah. So,
Still,
yeah,
still, the rent
she
out there
moved
is
out
very
and
expensive.
she was doing pretty well in life, and well, not pretty well, but well enough to be living in Summerlin at the time. And she's not rich or anything, but I mean, she's another big reason where I'm at right now
She's an
in life.
influencer.
Yeah, in life
Yeah.
and in like my photography journey. But yeah, I was living with my sister. I think it was Summerlin, but I've lived all around Las Vegas growing
Wow.
up. But yeah,
How
yeah.
long ago was it until you left Las Vegas?
Well, no, I only left when I joined the Navy,
How
and I never moved
many
back.
years is that?
So I joined the Navy, was stationed in Japan for almost 5 years, and then I got stationed out here in San Diego from Japan. Did another 3 or 4 years, and when I got out, I had already had a house out here, so I always wanted to move back, but for some reason I just never did it. So yeah, I've been out here since 2008,
Okay.
and I frequent Vegas a lot when I can. This year's kind of been only a few times a year, but all my family's out there. So yeah,
Okay. Well, how do you like the transition from Vegas to here? This is actually nicer to me,
I
San
don't.
Diego.
It's no, I I love obviously San Diego's beautiful, weather's beautiful. Um, there's just I guess for me there's just something about being home. For some reason I still don't feel that sense that San Diego's my home. Like when
Really?
I think of home,
You think of
I
Vegas?
still
Home.
yeah, yeah. But when people ask me where I'm from, I'm now getting to the point where I'm saying San Diego instead of Vegas. So, but yeah. No, it's great. Like the school systems, I think that's also a big reason because I have a daughter. Um, and Poway Unified's a great
That's
school district,
a
so I
good schooling
yeah
district out there.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
amazing. So there's a lot of factors that came into me like staying out here. I had my opportunities to go back, but nothing just really materialized to the point where I actually did it. So, but I'm here now. I'm a San Diegan technically, so that's
So
part
are
of
you
it.
still in the Navy or are you retired?
No, I got out. I got out in what was it, 2011, um, and I almost got out in 2008, but that's when like the economy was crashing.
Yes, I remember
So,
that year. I was in real estate. I was
oof,
doing commercial loans and real estate both at the same time, and it was booming before 2008 hit.
all right.
And
I
once 2008 hit, I made a choice to get out. And I
I
think
guess that's a good thing,
that, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Before,
yeah,
because
before everything
2008 it
started
was
crashing.
starting to collapse,
It was
and then
collapsing.
yeah. Um, it was rough, yeah. So if I would have gotten out then, Lord knows what I'd be doing. Um, somebody, one of my senior chiefs when I was in, convinced me to stay in, and for some reason I did, and it actually worked out for another. I stayed in for another 3 years, 4 years, so it worked out. But yeah.
So do you get a retirement from the Navy for staying that extra 3, 4 years?
No, I only did 8.5 years, a little over 8.5 years.
Okay.
So I don't get a retire. You got to do the 20 to get the retirement. Uh,
Okay.
I did reserves when I got out for another 3 years, but no, I. It's weird because I got in thinking I was going to do the full 20. When I first enlisted, and then eventually I realized, I can I can get out and be okay. At least I thought. Um, but then, yeah, I toughed it out, did another 8.5. I was eligible for re-enlistment. I had all the early promotes and all that stuff, but I knew that it was time for me to kind of move on
Move
and
on.
go to school and all that good stuff. So,
Did you
ended up
continue schooling after you got out of
no,
the
actually.
military?
So I started architecture school. Did not finish. I went to Woodbury University down there in Barrio Logan.
Yes.
Um, I did an interview with an architect, and because I was like one of the assignments during one of the classes,
Okay.
and he was an architect. His office was somewhere, and it was either Mission Hills or Hillcrest. I don't remember, but he advised me like if I would truly wanted to understand architecture and be a good architect, to get into construction, like work construction, be around construction, understand how buildings are put together. So I decided, okay, I'm going to get a job in an apprenticeship. So I got a job in a carpenter apprenticeship
Okay.
where basically you work during the day with a journeyman carpenter, and you go to school for carpentry, which I went to the AGC, no, AGC in Sorrento Valley. And working as through that apprenticeship kind of convinced me that that was what I wanted to do instead of being an architect. So I ended up getting out of architecture school and just finishing the apprenticeship and all that stuff, which actually worked out. I love buildings. I love architecture. I love like getting on my tools and all that. But
Yes.
I prefer building them over designing them. So that's the path I took, and it actually worked out. So yeah, I finished school, just not what I originally got out for.
Well, as long as you're doing what you love and enjoy, because that's what's most important.
Indeed, indeed. But yeah, and I think the architecture school really it really helped. Like actually allowed me to see things differently. Um, and that really does drive a lot of like how I shoot, especially with like locations. So
Right.
uh, it I could again that's another aspect of like how I shoot and what I shoot that wouldn't be possible without that experience of going through school and understanding kind of how to see things differently.
Angles.
Yeah.
It's in photography. There's three key ingredients to a great photo. Light is 80% of the photo. being great. 10% is the angle of the shot. And the last 10% is the settings in your camera that make a great photo. So with all those combined, you'll produce phenomenal photography.
So far,
Yeah,
so good.
great. I got one last question for you. So, as a photographer, you've got some experience under your belt right now. What advice would you give other photographers that are just starting out getting into photography that you can give them pointers or help with
Um,
advice?
I'm going to use my own. I'm going to use my own experience to kind of guide this answer.
Okay.
Um, and it's, I guess, it's stuff that I wish I knew, kind of starting off. Um, Starting off, really, just getting out there and shooting. And I know a lot of people say this, but
Okay.
not just getting out there and shooting, but clearly knowing sh- shooting with intent, knowing what you're trying to shoot, not necessarily a style, because like if you don't know your style, if you don't, there's a difference between what you're passionate about and what you're good at. A lot of
Right.
people they can shoot what they're passionate about, like their niche or whatever, but
Yes.
it depends on why you're doing it. If you're trying to make a business out of it, there's just certain things that like okay, if this is what the avenue you're going to take, shoot that, master that. A lot of people can be a jack of all trades, master of none, but you can't do everything, right? So learn obviously the fundamentals of the camera, but also shoot with intention because yes, going out there and shooting is great. You're learning a lot, especially when you're looking at your settings, you're practicing. But if you don't know why you're taking the photo and the and the greater scheme of things, it actually I wouldn't say it hurts you, but to me it doesn't.
Doesn't
It's
benefit
hard to
the
say this
photographer?
without saying it's a waste of time, right?
Yes.
Like if you're shooting with intent, you
You
kind of
know what you
know
want. You
exactly.
know what you want to shoot. Yeah.
Especially at my age, like when you're young, just go out and shoot it, right? But when you're limited on time and resources or and whatnot, like knowing the avenue you're trying to take
Yeah.
dictates everything. The equipment you're going to use, not necessarily the camera you're going to use, but the equipment you're going to need or use. Who actually you need to kind of navigate towards as far as mentorship,
Right.
what you're going to shoot, right? Because that's something I'm still working on to this day is like the mentor side of it. Like I'm not a mentor, but I'm at the point where like I know having a mentor and having people that I can look up to,
For
depending
information.
exactly, it kind of never it's very important. So I say one thing would be knowing what you want to shoot, shooting with intention, and then doing that as much as possible. Last year I did just everything. Like if there were like just because I was really trying to understand the camera, right? How to
Right.
shoot. And so for me, I couldn't turn anything down. I had to go out there, learn as quickly as possible, learn as much as possible, know what I was good at and what I wasn't good at, and then going from there. But if I knew what I knew now, which in hindsight, everybody says that,
Right.
that like kind of knowing, because when you're passionate about what you're shooting, it
Uh-huh.
it makes everything else so much easier. When you're not forcing the shot, when you're not forcing the situation, when you know what you want to shoot, everything else falls in line. Um, so yeah, I think my one piece of advice would be that if anything else, know why you're shooting and know
Okay.
what you want to do, and then everything else goes from there.
That's good advice. Thank you so much.
Thank
Um,
you.
there's a lot of photographers who need to listen to that advice because there's some photos that I see that I can't understand the story, what they're trying to project from some of the images. And if you know what your intent is and what the outcome is going to look like, you can produce something visually and produce something that's visually appealing to your clients and to your viewers. Especially right now in Instagram, you need to create some kind of a hook. And that first 3 seconds is key for capturing their emotions, their their drive to come back and check things out down the road to see what else you're going to be producing for them.
I
So
call it the reason. I keep saying that the reason it's bigger than the story you're trying to tell, because it's not just a story. It's you're trying to make a great story,
right,
right? A great image tells a great story, and
yeah,
not only that, but you're trying to like your Instagram's just overly saturated. I mean, everything's oversaturated, but the product you're trying to put out through the photograph, especially with Instagram, if it's through social media, it has to be so compelling, or at least like of such quality that it brings people back.
right,
They're really intrigued just looking at that photo.
correct.
Right? You can't like it. Some of it's so simple, but other times it has to be compelling for me. So, but yeah,
That's
sometimes you just
true.
look at a photo and it's not compelling enough to you just keep scrolling or turn the page. So. Um, I guess the part of shooting with intention also includes like this photo should make sense the second you see it. And
Yes.
if it doesn't, then something's off. So, but yeah, back. Sorry.
No, you're right. Actually, there was one photo that I took on the gondola of a wedding bridal shoot that after I took it, I knew exactly that this photo was going to be so compelling. And sure enough, this is one of the photos on one of my business cards. I've used it on my website. I bring it up every now and then. And it's not just the subject, it was the cloudscapes in the sky, how the formation was. It was so incredible that even when I saw it, I said, wow.
That's when
And I
you,
rarely say,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah. And that's what you want to, that's the beauty of
That's what you
photography is
want.
the
That's the
ability to,
point where
yeah,
everyone needs to be, where when you're looking at your photos, you even say, wow.
exactly. That's what the client is expecting. That's the standard. When the photographer just, yeah, that's when you know. Yeah, yeah.
So I got another thing I'd like to add before we go. So Einstein had a quote. He says that imagination is more important than knowledge. So I feel that you have imagination. You
Thank you.
have that in you.
Thank you.
And with experience, you will go far.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I really do.
No, you're welcome. So keep up your imagination and your vision and just keep going out there practicing being the best. When you're out there with those other photographers, they may have more years than you, but with your photos, hopefully you'll be at the point where everyone wants to take their photos with you,
Indeed.
all
Thank
the
you.
models.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. And that's
you're welcome.
I do strive for that. So, and with time, hopefully it'll develop.
Oh, for sure. That'll happen. I can see that.
Thank you.
You have the passion and it's the flame is in you. So
I
you go
appreciate it.
out there with that torch and keep running.
Yes, sir. We'll do it. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Herbert Lawrence Taylor. It was a pleasure meeting you today on my Rick Edgar Photography broadcast channel. We had some interesting topics that we ran into and brushed on. And I hope to talk to you again in the future about
Indeed.
photography and where you're at in the near future here.
I look forward to it. I look forward to possibly even working with you someday. So, thank you.
Yes. definitely I'll reach out to you and see if you're available when I go out to some of these photo shoots, and we'll get together.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. It was a blessing, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for being my guest here at Rick Edgar Photography, and thank you for the viewers that came in and spent some time listening to our interview today. And I wish all of you a happy and safe Sunday, and with the rest of the week, happiness, and keep on shooting.
Yes, sir. Health before wealth, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Herbert, enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
It is
Thank you.
football Sunday. I will. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry I took you away from your football here.
No worries. I got it in my peripheral. We're good.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Bye.